So welcome back to the 250R, and really we're going to just pick up from where we were. I've got this on temporarily. I'm going to pull it off when I'm getting in there for the carburetor and so forth, but that brings up the carburetor. And this is one carburetor, and I don't run across these very often. Not in these old bikes, but this this doesn't need to be rebuilt, but I'm going to do it anyway. Got a rebuild kit here, so I'm going to go ahead and rebuild it. But my whole question is what I'm going to do with all of the parts and the outside to get this thing looking new. All right, I made some decisions here on the carburetor. Typically inside these float bowls, you are going to see all the plating is just corroded out. There's nothing left, and that's what gives you that green goo. But this is so immaculate that I decided to just do a little finish polish on the carburetor. Just give it a little shine, because it was the only thing I thought about with it was that it was a tad bit dull. And so I thought, just give it a little hand polishing, and I'm really happy. I think that would be better. Now I'm going to show you a carburetor that I plated. I mean, it's beautiful. There's no doubt about it. But it almost looks like a Chinese carburetor, but it isn't. It's the Kian, and the plating I think came out beautiful, and looks like it was just a new old stock right out of the box. But I didn't want to go through all that. I think the original plating on the other carburetor was really a choice of keeping it original. So there it is. They're looking good. So we'll just put this thing back together. Now I am going to plate all the hardware, and it'll be, these might clean up, but they could, but that won't. And that's got some. It would just look good, all beautiful and plated. So I'm still up on the air. I'm going to clean these and see. But see, oh no, that's got rust on it. So that'll dress it up. And then I'm going to probably plate this drain plug. And the inside plating, like I was saying, is just about the same as the outside. So that's the carb. Let's just get it rebuilt. The plating is done, and they look great, don't they? And it really spruces up the carburetor. You look down inside. Now, I didn't plate that in there. That's how nice the inside of this carburetor was. So there we have it. The carburetor's ready to install. There she is, mounted up. Got the air box on. It's looking good. It'll look great with a brand new Honda OEM air filter. Nice and clean.
We've got it all sandblasted and prepped, wiped down, and we're ready to put on the PJ1 Fast Black. That's a correct color for the Honda.
And there they are, done. All black. Shiny, somewhat shiny. It's it's not a flat black. It's supposed to be a satin black, but it's more on the flat side. but it's really nice. So we're gonna let those dry. Once they're dry, got it mounted, got all the brackets painted, and Jason, look at all that plated hardware. Oh gosh, and look at the black plated screws. And then the drain hose, the OEM Honda, that came in, so I was able to mount those. The airbox cover, rear hubs, skid plate, foot pegs, and again, these are plated, not painted. Don't they look great? Same with the brake arm. Rubber grommets, tank mounts, skid plate, and the fender, and the scoops. So I had one of my subscribers asked, how do you do your plastics? How do you take old plastics and get them shiny again? So I'm going to show you what I do, and I'll start from here. So you can see this is pretty dried out. It's got a little line on it, and I don't know how much better I'm going to get it. You can see in here that there's a lot of discoloration. So, you know, this side's no problem. These are no problem. You know, those are not discolored, but here it is. So I typically got a water bottle. I put down a towel, soak up all the water. I don't have to have a running hose. And so I'll go over it with 800 and a little water and see how easy. Now I know this stuff's going to come off on the bottom here because this isn't near as bad, but I've got this Adams. You can see that discoloration. You can see all that white oxidated plastic coming off of there. We'll see if this 800 is going to work, and I think it's doing its job. But to make things faster, what I've got is I've got the Adams. It's a small buffer, and so I'm going to throw on 800 onto a padded wheel. Let's just see what that does. That's taking it off a lot faster. So I'm seeing that where the sandpaper hits a little harder on the edge, of course, you know, like your color sanding, this is getting to be red, which that's great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the edge of that buffer, and I'm going to try and get in there. I think I'm going to be able to get that with this buffer because it's not going to take me near as long. Well, what I'm going to do now, the 800 was working. It's still taking off oxidation. You can see the difference between here, but you can see there's still, and I'm going to just do this side, so we're going to experiment. But I cut a little bit of 400, and I'm going to see if 400 is going to take it down. And I might even go more aggressive, because really can bring it back up. And I don't want to spend forever on it. And you've got to have on Sundays, when you're restoring bikes, like we do here at JT's Customs, you got to have red zone. And we got the countdown at 6 minutes to 7 hours of uninterrupted football. All right, it's getting there. I focused on these edges. You can see they're getting red. And I've got to get in here. So what I'm going to do is this paper just loads up with that plastic so fast. I'm going to try it dry. And I'm going from 400 to 320. And this may or may not work. I take the sticky backing. It may sit on this loop and work. Let's see. Kind of came off of there, but look at that. Took that dark area off real fast. That's great. And that's all that faded plastic. Oh yeah, I can see the difference here. So I think that the 320, I think dry, see, you can still see it's loading up the paper. So I'm gonna scratch off those little bumps. Let's see if it'll stay on there. It's not staying on there. Maybe if I press it. Nope. So I really need the loop, and I don't have it. Let's see what I can come up with. So I've got 800 on here, and I'm going to see what dry does. It is working better, but there's plastic building up. But if I were to take maybe a little bit more water, but I can tell all of that's all red now. That's really, really good. That's where we want to get to. So it's red all the way through. So now, I'm going to give you an idea. I've got 800, this is 800, and I've got that color off of there, that black color. And there we are. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. There we go. That's where we want to be. And then we polish it from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of this. And then I'll polish this. Then I'll attack this. But something tells me I'm going to have to go really deep into this. So I'm probably going to take something more like a 220 and just cut this right off. Just cut all that plastic off to get us to this brilliant red. And then the polishing and the stepping up the sandpaper and stuff, it'll make it look like this. And now you can see where we're getting big difference between this and this. And we're only at 800. So we're going to step it on down. So we got it down to 1500. Okay, so it's all down to 1500. And then the last step I do before I start buffing it is I take a 5000. It's a foam pad. And just give it a go over with it. See if I can get those 1500 scratches out. But you're starting to see the shine come to it. And I'll do that quite a bit. And that is, I mean, that's going to look great. So now you're going to see there's still a little stress cracking in there, but where are you going to find one? They're on Craigslist, or not on Craigslist, but on eBay, but they're in worse shape. So now we're going to hit it with the heavy cutting compound. Can you see that? There we go. So now you can start to see it's starting to shine. And they consider this a, was it 3002 to 3000 grit. So it's kind of giving it a polish, but it's also taking out a lot of the scratches. But oh my gosh, I was able to save this. And this is after doing just that first cut. And from there, I'm going to hit it with their compound. And then I'll hit it with the polish. So I seriously had my doubts about this top, but I did it. I think you can do it too. Those tanks that are laying around, I mean, how can you not be happy with that? And there it is mounted, which took a little bit. This whole bracket had to come off and on and off and on just to get this in, but it's in there, solid, beautiful. And now I believe there's a decal. So I'll show you how I'm going to put this on. I mean, this is kind of easy stuff. I mean, you don't need me to. So I'm using a little, just alcohol, just what do they call it, rubbing alcohol, and dry it off good. And all I'm really going to do is center it. And make sure I have it on there right. So I'm going to peel this back. I can't see how the lettering goes. So there it is. So it says remember. And this is what we used to call it the do not ride sticker. Because they warned you about everything. You know, stop before you ride, think about your life, all those sorts of things. So there it is, really touches that off. And the stickers that go on this, it's all been cleaned. Take the backing off, and now there's a round and kind of a sharp, and you can see there's more of a round edge on this end. So I'm going to center it. And then I'm going to start and just roll down. And the camera's in the wrong area, so I'm going to move it. Move it over here. And if you get it wrong, or you get massive bubbles, just peel it back up. But I go down one side, I tend to get a lot less bubbles just coming across. Like so. And then ProLink. And I'm centering it with the sticker. I mean, that's so easy. You know, it's no problem at all. And that sure dresses this up. This whole back end looks racy. Figuring out where the stickers went was a little difficult. I had to look at a lot of pictures. And the only way I could get these stickers onto the Mayer plastics was applying them like you would a motocross sticker package with a heat gun. A lot of stretching. Got that on. All these are looking great. And this over here was even more difficult. You can see the angles that you got to do. And then down here, this also was a little difficult, but not too bad. So we've got it to a point where the only thing left to do is the tank. After gobs of pictures and research, I had put the sticker up here, had to peel it off, put it down there. But yeah, it's really looking good. So we're going to go from here and we're going to start on the tank. The first step is just to clean it. I cleaned it in the wash bay, got all the dirt off it. but I've been battling these little, it's like there's overspray of white paint, and it's not mist, it's big blotches. You can see they come off. But these things were all over the bike, from the swing arm to the frame. But we're getting that, and so I've got to get the stickers off, and I've already done it on this side, and I've gotten all the paint off. Starting to show little pits and some clear coat that's coming off, so we'll work on that. So I've got all the stickers off, I've got all that paint off. So from here, the process was a heat gun, and it melted a lot of it off. A lot of it was stubborn, and the plastic razor blade and soaking with a little lacquer thinner got it all off. Now, there are some dents. There's one right here. There is one here. And there's one more. I believe it's not, you can barely feel it, but it's there. Now all this is going to get picked up in the guide coat, and there's one there too. But it all works out. So the first thing is I'm going to rough up these dents, and I'm going to get a start on it. I'm going to get a start of filler in everything I can feel, and then we'll sand that down. And the first thing is to scuff it up. I'm using 60, you could use 80. I'm going to scuff that lower part and everything around about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches. Now if I was doing this body work, I'd be using power, but this is just a bike tank, so you just want something that this filler can bite into. So I'll go around about there, and that's probably where the body filler is going to fill to. Now there's one up here, I'll scuff it, and then we'll do the body filler, and I'll show you a secret on that. I learned a lot with the Suburban. This was great filler. It didn't require a bunch of hassle. It's just straightforward. And then this was excellent, and you get that at Summit or wherever. But it is a great glaze. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix half and half, glaze and filler. And that's going to make sanding so much easier because these are not huge dents. And there's half and half. Mix it up. Put it on. And this is pretty hot. I kind of put too much on there. That's okay. We're just going to get one consistent color. This is always the first run at it, so we're not trying to make these dents perfect the first time. that's about it. That will do you there. I was going to do this a little at a time, but I mixed up so much that I'm just going to go ahead and get all these. And that should do it. Now the secret is to get this stuff sanded when it's just right. All right, it's been about, I'd say, max 10 minutes. Let's see what we got here. And I'm only doing this with wet sanding because I don't want to get dust in the shop all over the bikes. And this is 100 grit. It's coming off pretty good. So I'll keep working on this and on the other dents, and I'll show you what it looks like on the first run at it. So I got it sanded down as far as I want to go, and from here it's time to get it into primer so that I can pick up all the nits, and there's clear coat coming off in places. So I'm going to scuff this up and we're going to prime it, and I'm going to scuff it with like I'm going to say 320. So we got it down here in the booth. We got it all sanded. We got the bottom taped off because I'm not sure if I'm going to want to paint the bottom because it's in really good shape and it's original. So let's get our first coat of primer on. So it's all dry. I let it sit overnight. We're going to get our first look at where we're at. And we can see that we've got a little bit of a high spot here. And you can see the ring where the Bondo was in that dent. But I can tell you right now, that's going to sand out. That is going to be good to go. Go one way and go the other. And it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect around here, because that's where the decal is going to be. This needs to be good. All this needs to be good. This needs to be good. And this might even sand out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down and then show you what it looks like. And I'm using the hard block here at first, and then I'll switch to the more flexible block. All right, I got it down. All that dent that we took out, that's all gone. There's a couple low spots here, and I'm starting to burn through here, which I don't want to do any further. I could even go a little further. That's okay. But this is low, that's low, and that's low. Now, I'm probably going to be able to sand. Yeah, it's a real tough choice. This right here, another full application of the sandable, the high build primer, would probably take all this out. I might want to just do a little in here because these are deep. So we'll see. So we got it all sanded down, got it all blocked, and we've got a few areas that they're just not going to be able to, because we're coming to metal here. Got a piece here, a little bit there. That probably could come out. But this little chip right here, that will come through the paint like you won't believe. And there's another one right in here. Now there's a few others. Well, I guess there's not. This is all perfect. This is perfect. It's all sanded. Now I've sanded this, and now the trick is to fix those other spots without having to completely load this up again and have to do all this. This took me all morning long. It took me 4 or 5 hours to get this all sanded in 400 grit. So we're gonna fix those little spots. It's all sanded down, ready for our second coat of high build primer. And you can see the little pinholes filled. We've got those pinholes covered. Same with that. So let's get some primer on it. Alright, so we are ready to paint. This right here is wafer thin primer. I try to get everything in total gray on the real finished parts. Now these little pieces here, not only are they the color we're painting, but they're not really big enough to deal with, and you don't have to have it perfect, but you don't want any metal coming through. There's just a tiny spot of metal here. That'll be fine, but it's really good to be just total gray.
There's the first coat. So now the first coat of clear. So there's the first coat of clear. And we're not looking for complete coverage. We just want to get enough on there to give us a base. Let it set up. It's about 10 minutes, maybe 5, between coats. And then the final coat of clear, we're going to put it on a little heavier to give it that glossy finish. Now the second coat.
right, now we're going to give it the final coat.
So let's just hope we don't get any runs.
All right, so I have sanded this, and I took it with 1500 first. There were little nits and a little orange peel, but it would have passed, but I like them perfect. So I like them like a piece of porcelain. So 1500 first, then 25, then 5000. So the next step is to buff it out. So these are Adams, and I've been using them. It's been really good. I got these backwards. So this is the heavy cutting pad, and it's got a fiber to it. It's like a wool for the heavy, and then the compound, just the lighter compound, is a blue foam, and then the polish is a white foam. And I'm going to do the compound, the heavy compound, on the whole unit here that I've sanded. I didn't sand the front here because it's perfect. I didn't sand the top, it's perfect. But I'm going to polish the whole thing. And I might even take the rubbing compound. But you can see it is like absolute glass. So next, I'm going to go over all the areas I've sanded with heavy compound, and then we'll move on to the regular compound. So I think I've got it back to where it was before I sanded it, but with all of the little nits out of it. So it is ready for the regular compound, and then when we get the polish on it, it's really going to pop. And here it is after I did the blue compound, and it just keeps getting flatter and flatter and luxurious. Yeah, this is way too nice. Way too nice to go to Shingletown. I'm sorry, Joe. This just is not coming your way. So now we're going to take the final polish to it. So it's all polished out. It's all rubbed out. It's all color sanded. So we are ready to start putting the tank back together. And there it is on. Got everything there. All shiny and pretty. So now it's time for the final walk around. So here is the final product. It's a beautiful 1983 ATC 250R. Everything's been done. I did replace these with aftermarket, and let's hope that they're in there good. Everything's been either replated, like this Kickstarter. As you can see, the color of it is the original color. If you look at one that has not been restored, it has the same green hue to it. And I really went out of my way to get everything to look so close that you could really not tell if this was restored or if it was just pulled out of a crate in 1983. The frame is spotless. All the cable routing is done. All of the polishing and plating. You've got the emergency brake, the clutch, headlight. Now this one has a Honda line front headlight guard, which is really cool because these were put on aftermarket and you could get them at the Honda dealer at the time to replace the original one. And you can see the forks have been completely rebuilt. They've been restored to a factory original shine. It's not a highly polished shine, and that's something I really take my time with. We've got a new sticker here, and all of the decals are just beautiful. All of the plastic's been restored. Got the 1983 sticker in there. Even the bolts here are brought back to just how they were when this bike was new. If you look in, you can see so much detail. Boy, it takes me a long time to do these. Just doing what is in this video has taken me non-stop about 2 months. Maybe a little less. OEM Honda grips, bar ends. You've got Mayer plastics. And if you look real close here, this plating is got the aged look to it. It's got a little bit of a gold hue to it. This has all been hand polished to achieve a brand new out of box look. All the bearings have either been replaced or serviced, depending on if they needed it or not. And again, this is all plated. These are not painted. These are plated. With the bolts down here, they've been replated in the silver, and they're all OEM with the figure 8 on them. Again, just as detailed as I can possibly get. And a few things that I would say I could have gone a little further on. Here and there, if I could have found an OEM switch cluster, I would have put that on, but try and find one of those. So I did my restoration on those by lubricating all the switches. It's got the thumb throttle. It hasn't been modified to a twist throttle, which a lot of these have. It's got the silencer baffle in the back. And it's just in absolutely perfect condition, with complete rebuild of all the bushings. If they needed it, they got it. If they didn't, they were lubricated. The rear swing arm completely restored and replated. The rear caliper was rebuilt. The front caliper was rebuilt. New chain and sprockets. All the wiring has been documented before it was pulled apart and all returned to its original position. All the skid plates were redone. And extreme care was taken on all the wiring routing. All OEM retainers. Rear tail light is functioning and it's been restored. You've got the correct color on all the bands. You have just about anything that needed it, got it. The paint is absolutely like glass. It's like a porcelain finish. There's not a a nit in it. And if you look at the front and rear rotors, they were completely removed and restored in the cloud silver, even the edge. Every single piece was plated to the original color. The nuts and bolts on the triple clamp, all replated. Even the screw and the bolt for the headlight. There wasn't anything left other than the chrome, which just needed to be cleaned up. There's quite a few chrome bolts on this and screws, such as this bar mount and the screws that hold the clutch perch on. And then the adjusters were actually zinc plated. OEM Honda parts everywhere. These are OEM front air shock caps and seals. The seal in the fork, seal in the cap, the valve itself, and the cap, all brand new. The headlight was completely removed, disassembled, cleaned internally with a brand new OEM headlight. The bulb itself. So there's just not a stone unturned on this one. Later on, I'm going to probably fill it with some fuel, start it up, give you an idea of how it runs. But for now, it is just going to sit here and be a beautiful display piece. It was the king of the hill in three-wheelers. This was the one that everybody really wanted, and many people wanted them, but few could afford them. And if you look at this as a museum piece, it would make you quite happy, and your friends and neighbors would be just green with envy if they saw this out in your front yard. I mean, I don't ride my restorations. I enjoy restoring them. That's what I get most satisfaction out of. But up in Shingletown, they'd probably take this out to the mud bogs, just right out of the box, just like this. Probably take a chain to it. You know, that's the way they are over there in Shingletown. They just, if it looks good, well, they've got to fix that. I can't have anything that looks pretty. So there it is. Completely done. Another finished restoration here at JT's Customs. So till the next restoration, thanks for all of your thumbs up, and please subscribe, you know, all that stuff. Everybody says that. I'm not even going to go into it. But that is definitely one heck of an animal. So enjoy the next video, and we'll see you then. And one thing I forgot is Chico he says it's too big for him. He's not really into the 250R. He'd rather have an ATC70, right, Chico? Chico, would you rather have an ATC70? Yeah, I thought so. That might be better for you as an ATC70. I guess I could put a rack on the back for Chico if I ever rode him, if I rode these, but I don't. So anyhow, thanks again, and we'll see you on the next video. And it should be exciting. I can't tell you what that is right now. You're just going to have to subscribe and look. See you on the next one.